Speeds.
Yeah, that's me a year ago, acting and directing on the set of Finish This Fight music video. I've been making films for over a decade now, and one thing I've learned being in the movie business for so long is that most stories have to stretch the truth to make it sound more exciting. Well, the story I'm about to tell you today, I'm gonna have to tone it down a few notches just to make it believable for you. Let me begin by introducing you to the man that started this whole movement, Glenn Baker. So how did you get involved in all this?
That's a pretty good question. So when I came back into music in 2020, I had written a song called Freedom that I released. It went all over the world except for the US. And the music video and that kind of thing, because I'd lost my freedom, and I write from my heart, man. I write from what happens. In 2021, I released my second single called No New Normal. And obviously we know what that was the reason for that one, the COVID debacle, man. But people at that point started hearing my name, and I got an invitation to come and sing at a fundraiser with General Michael Flynn. We were raising money for an organization that was putting an exoskeleton on a paralyzed Marine so he could walk again. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And went and did my thing, sang my songs, was out in the audience, and then they wheeled a Marine up on this stage, 7 years paralyzed from Afghanistan. And this guy stood up and walked around the room with the help of this exoskeleton and some canes, and was telling the whole crowd, and I mean walking at a pretty brisk pace, telling the crowd he now gets a chance to someday walk his daughter down the aisle. He can reach the top shelf for his wife. He feels like a man again. And I'm like this, got my cowboy hat and sunglasses. I'm just tears dripping out of my beard, man. It broke my heart, and I'll never recover. I never want to recover from that one, because that gave me a path to doing something good. And I knew there was something I could do. I could write a song. And that's what we ended up doing. We wrote a song. I brought a guy from Nashville down to Florida, and we worked for a couple of weeks. And we got this song ready to go, written, not recorded. And then went to Nashville a while later and recorded the song, and I didn't like it. The music just wasn't right. The musical emotion didn't go with the story. And so we redid it, and finally about a year ago, we got it right. It took a long time. So, but I'm shining the light on this other organization, you know, that I wrote it with the name of the organization in the chorus. I mean, I wanted to shine a light. I wanted to help. And then a year ago, I met you. I was looking for somebody to film the music video, and we came up here to North Georgia, Woodstock, Georgia, and began to film that thing. And I'm calling this organization, and I'm calling these exoskeleton companies for help, and nobody will help me. And then I find out the organization's no longer helping veterans. And I'm like, well, crap, man. What am I going to do now? And God just leaned in. He said, you're just going to do this. You're going to film a movie. You're going to start a foundation. And I said, what? He said, boy, quit talking back to me. You heard what I said. And I'm just like, okay, yes, sir. And that's the point where my whole life changed. Up to that point, I thought I just was writing a song and was just into music. And at that point, I knew it was time to do something more.
And we did. In 2024, we made the feature film, Finish This Fight, Diary of a Pissed Off American Soldier. And during the making of that movie, Glenn started a foundation, Finish This Fight, with the purpose of putting over 100 exoskeletons on wounded veterans that no longer had the ability to walk. Turns out, that was going to be a lot harder than we initially anticipated.
And I met a couple, Texas couple, cowboy couple, Robert and Jamie Agee, at this event. And we just hit it off and began to tell my story like I tend to do. And I think something just started turning in their brains, you know. And before long, they're calling me and said, hey, we know a guy in Texas you probably need to meet that's it's been wounded in Iraq, and your story kind of, what you're interested in kind of lines up there. And so I called Joshua.
So I met Glenn through mutual friends, and then, after I met Glenn, I asked Glenn if he would be willing to come and speak at my Unity Field. And so that's when I really got to see Glenn Baker himself. I got to see him in his own element. I got to see, how humble and honorable man he was, and just all around good folk, man, really good. And then so.
If you haven't figured it out yet, this is Joshua Holm. If you look closely at the music video for Finish This Fight, Josh is in the rehabilitation sequence with Glenn's son, Jonathan. 3 weeks before the filming of the music video, Joshua had torn 19 centimeters of his esophagus, which sounds almost as terrible as it actually is. When I met him, he was using a dry erase board and a marker to communicate with everyone. But the thing that stood out to me the most was not that he was in a wheelchair or that he couldn't speak. It was his attitude. Really, he was always smiling. He was eager to help, and he was a joy to have on set, even though communication was limited. And here's where the story becomes a bit unbelievable. So hang in there.
Well, Josh's story is crazy. I mean, I thought my story was pretty unbelievable. Josh's is crazy. He was in Iraq in 2003, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and as a fire direction control guy, which is a guy that's in the back, normally, he was put into a different position. He was involved with raids. And so on a raid was the first time that he was hit.
And then, but basically what it was, I saw a flash of a muzzle, and I felt like a freight train hit me in the chest. What really happened was I took 2 slugs, center mass of my chest into my side plates. So it hit my armor, but the doctors told me 2 to 5 more pounds of pressure would have broke the sternum, which would have split my heart, killed me instantly.
Number 2 was back at the base, and when I say base, in Iraq, the first time especially, and I'm assuming the second from the stories that I've heard, a base is a bunch of tents with maybe some concertina wire around it.
Second injury was August 15th. So as I'm running full speed with other personnel with me, and as I'm running full speed, my legs outrun my body, and I do a face plant.
Mortar hit the ground and didn't explode, which is crazy. I mean, you almost never see a dud, but it hit 25 or so meters in front of him. He went to the ground. He felt the splatter. He got a lot of gravel and some stuff against him that cut him up and that kind of thing, but it didn't kill him. Just cut him up. They put him in a hospital unit for a couple of weeks, healing up. He wouldn't go home. This Joshua, he wouldn't quit. He wouldn't go home. And so he's back out on duty again and doing the same duty next time. This was September, I think, 1st of 2003. And all of a sudden, mortars started coming in. And he sent one of the guys working for him off running. And he took care of what he had to take care of, and then he took off running.
I felt something wasn't right. And then so I told the other guy, I said, run. And so then as he took off running towards the safety bunker, I flipped over the manure, or flipped over the crap. And then I took off running myself. And as I ran into the gate, that's where one bunker was, and that's where he wasn't, where a lot of other people were. I didn't know if the enemy had eyes on, so I took off running towards another bunker. As I'm running past the latrine, I feel a gust of wind, but I feel someone like grab me and throw me over to my left.
And he said it felt like a hand of God, man, pulled him out of the way, threw him to the ground. I can only imagine the concussion that had, but it cut him up, and he took off, started running again, didn't kill him. Crazy, you know, man of many lives, didn't kill him. But what did happen is he didn't see the hole in front of him, and he ran into a mortar hole, which is basically an implanted permanent mortar tube. Fell 12 feet, knocked himself out on the way down, hit the mortar tube, knocked himself out, landed square on his feet, broke both legs, squatted. You know, when you hit, he wasn't awake, couldn't catch himself, squatted, hit his tailbone on the ground, and splintered his tailbone.
I told you the story was unbelievable, but we're not done yet. In Iraq, Josh took 2 slugs to the chest, had multiple near-death encounters with mortar strikes, and broke both of his legs and his tailbone falling into a hole. You'd think that would have been enough, but what he didn't know was when he got home, a simple drive around base would change the course of his life forever.
Went back to base, then started getting therapy for all this stuff, going to the hospitals and that kind of thing. And they had the casts and things on his legs, and again, he wouldn't quit. He's got a pregnant wife. And he's driving her around base, and he dropped her off at her doctor's appointment using his crutches as gas and brake pedals because he couldn't use his feet. Well, not the smartest knife in the drawer, but he was doing it because it's just how we're built, man. Young soldiers, you don't quit. And he came to a stop sign, took off out into the middle of the four-way, and a Dodge four-wheel drive pickup T-boned him right in the side. He's got a little bitty Nissan Sentra or something. And it just jacked him up. Threw his head out the window, the seatbelt caught him, brought it back in. Traumatic brain injury caused there. And we believe that that's the point where his neck was broken.
May 1st, 2009 is when I had the stroke, and my whole left side was paralyzed. And that kept me in the wheelchair that time for almost 2 years, about 2 years. And that's when Crystal put me in the corner, and that's when she said, "You need a timeout, I need a timeout." And so then, I remember after that happened, that's really when things became more real than anything.
December the 21st, 2022. He was working in his closet, not doing anything heavy, just working. And he turned to the left. Y'all don't ever turn to the left. He turned to the left, felt something, heard something snap, and he hit the ground. And that was the last day that he's ever been able to walk on his own. And here we are now.
I've heard it said that between your problem and your promise, God will do 10,000 things to get you there. Welcome to New York, where I think we're on about 9,950. We're not there yet, but we're getting darn close.
Travis sent me an article one day out of the blue, and I just read it, and it was a company that was out of France that was coming into the U.S. with next generation AI-driven, self-balancing exoskeleton technology. That's a big old mouthful for a country boy, but what that really means, it was way ahead of anything in the U.S. And so I reached out, got online, found their website, sent an email saying, "Hey, this is who I am, this is what we're doing, this is what we want to do. Are you interested?" And man, within 12 hours, I had a response.
Been 31 months since I've been able to stand even with a brace, or being able to take one single step. So it's been 31 months to the day yesterday.
Did you ever think you'd be walking in an exoskeleton?
Not this quick, not this quick at all. I mean, I didn't know from the music video, knowing that that he wanted to enhance to 100 paralyzed veterans to get back on their feet. And he wanted to help raise the money for that. I never thought of myself even being one. I just want to be a part of the journey. I wasn't concerned about being one of the ones. I just want to be a part of something that was so real, that was making such a difference.
There was no other choice. Joshua had just come from being in the hospital about to die, loaded up in a van, and came to help me. Who else could I have picked? It was part of his plan. Less than 5 minutes, we're going in to get this whole show started. I want y'all to join us. We're going to bathe this thing in prayer first, and then we're going to do what we got here to do. Lifting you up through this whole thing while you're lifting Joshua up. Put him back on. Hi, Josh.
Hey,
Very
nice to meet you again. Nice to meet you.
My wife has a headache. This is Kristen. She's trying to do over opposite.
Yeah, no
Travis,
worries.
you met him on the phone, I think, one time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Over here, because it's too much. With your hand and border, because it has a head injury, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you see the polygon, and then so, but I never could get it back. But that's all I want to go. I don't know if I had this big of a wall back it in.
Oh man, y'all, you can't imagine the joy that was in that room that day. It was 31 months exactly to the day that Joshua got to stand up and take his first steps. What a miracle.
And knowing that, I mean, like I said, it's pretty much like an avatar. I felt like I, plugged in and we became one. Like I was breathing with it, it just incredible. I mean, I can't even imagine. I can't even describe the feeling that I had. But like it was like deep down inside of me. It's like, you know what? I felt like I can fight again. I really am able to stand again, and I'm like, I can do this. I can do this.
Because being in a wheelchair, whether a man would like to admit it or not, there is a sense of your manhood gone. However, it's like, I guess, the sense of pride, like to stand tall, just to stand, I think is huge. You take it for granted.
What are your talks with him?
You know, until now, I never considered how difficult it would be to lose the ability to walk. For the short time I was in New York with Josh, I got to see just how hard it was to hail a cab or go to a restaurant. Not just for him, but for his wife and for all of us there. I don't know exactly how we're going to raise the money to help 100 soldiers walk again, but we're not going to stop until we figure it out.
This is so far out of my comfort zone. It's so far out of my wheelhouse, but God has downloaded some stuff with me, and He's given me good people to be around me. So we are starting at today, 45 days out, we will launch the Finish This Fight Walk for a Hero fundraiser. Scared the crap out of me when God told me we were going to walk for a hero. I thought He was telling me I was going to walk from Fort Lauderdale to Woodstock, Georgia. Y'all, I get 5'4" on a good day. That was going to be a battle, but I'm willing to do it. But that's not where we're going with this. So, walk for a hero. We want you. We want you to take part in this. Man, this is so much bigger than one person or even a team of 4 or 5. This is going to take America to get on board and do what needs to be done for our heroes, for our soldiers. So we're going to have people pledge. How many miles will they walk in 30 days? Maybe it's 30. Maybe they'll walk a mile a day. Maybe it's 100. Maybe they'll walk 3+ miles a day. But they're going to pledge the number of miles that they walk and then go out and get sponsorship for those miles. Might be $1 a mile, might be $5 a mile, might be $10 a mile. I don't know. But that money then will come in to finish this fight. And on the 30th day, we will culminate in a walk, 22 kilometers here in Georgia, point A to Woodstock, and have an event. What's that event going to be? I'm not even sure yet. Maybe a concert, maybe a VIP meet and greet, maybe a screening. I'm not 100% sure, but it's going to be an event that's going to be transferred all over the world. And here's the cool thing. You're going to have an opportunity to host an event in your hometown if you want to. And we'll live stream that together with what we're doing. It's time for us to quit whining and moaning and sitting on the couch. Get up and do something. The government's not going to do it. We can't fix what's broken overnight, but we can fix what we can do. So, middle of October, the date will be announced in the next 2 weeks. Finish This Fight, Walk for a Hero. You can be involved in actually making a difference in somebody's lives that made a difference in your life.